You were born in Holland or did you move to that place?
I was born and raised in the south side of Chicago in the summer of 1960.
What is the key message that you are driving in what you do?
Well, I think it's important, like you said, that we talk about.
How did you get to that book? What is it about?
I decided in the spirit of community to reach out to other brothers.
So what happened to you?
I have been physically and sexually and verbally abused.
It's Les Brown that was saying that no matter what happened to you or what have happened to you, you need to learn to forgive yourself.
Dr. John Henrik Clarke says that people of African descent have been on these shores since 1442.
Why did you coin it like that? What does it mean?
Okay, so my name is Mark Tuggle. I'm 64 years old. I live in the village of Harlem. It takes a village to raise a child. And I am the author of Cultural Silence and Wounded Souls. I can speak about mental health. This book is an intergenerational anthology of 30 men who share their personal experiences and professional views on a contemporary taboo subject from a unique racial lens. They write about anxiety, depression, isolation, guilt, loss, PTSD, racism, stress, trauma, drug misuse, paranoid schizophrenia, suicide ideation, and many other issues related to mental health and mental illness. The book has a number of resources that anyone can use. There are other books you can read. There are clinicians you can speak to. There are facilities you can frequent. There are helplines you can call. There are podcasts you can listen to. There are videos you can watch. The resources in the book are designed to answer three important questions. What can I do? Where can I go? And who can I talk to? And so if you're a man of African descent around the globe who has mental health concerns and challenges, those three questions are important. What can I do? Where can I go? And who can I talk to? Because, we've got centuries of trauma that has been unaddressed, and it manifests in our sense of esteem and value and worth, a sense of manhood, etc. So Muhammad Ali says the service to others is the rate you pay for your room here on earth. And I want to be of service to Black boys and men, and mental health is my passion. I'm a person with lived experience. I was diagnosed 30 years ago. I don't take medication, but I use meditation and other tools. So that's one of the reasons why we're here today.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Mike. I really appreciate what you're doing. And everything that you said there, each of them is personally important for me, for the sake of the people that we are serving, which is the African diaspora community. Like you already said, we're a huge community. You name some of the challenges that we are facing. It is important that we talk about those things. It is important that we face them. It is important that we don't sweep it under the carpet, because that doesn't solve the problem. What solves the problem, even though just by talking about it doesn't solve the problem, but at least it gives us a tool to be able to analyze the situation around us and then move forward from there. So yeah, thank you so much for making yourself available and be at the service of the community. All right, now we are essentially about storytelling here. We talk about storytelling. We talk about impact. We talk about purpose. We talk about why are we doing what we are doing. But before we get there, we usually learn about the person that we have in front of us. So today, you will give us the chance to be able to learn from you. You were born in Holland or did you move to that place? Tell me a bit about that.
I was born and raised in the south side of Chicago in the summer of 1960. I was raised by two parents, two loving parents. I've got three brothers and three sisters. I'm the fifth out of seven. And in my neighborhood, Hyde Park, Chicago at that time was considered to be the most racially segregated city in America. But the neighborhood I lived in, Hyde Park, was considered to be the most integrated neighborhood of America. And integration has been defined as black and white, which is a very narrow Eurocentric view of humanity. There's people all over the world, not just in Chicago, but all over the world. So just to define it, to limit it to two people or two groups of people is really inhumane. But that's the lens in which we live. I value Kwanzaa. And the second spiritual principle of Kwanzaa is self-determination, to define ourselves, create for ourselves, name ourselves, and speak for ourselves, instead of being defined, created for, named and spoken for by others. So it's important that as people of African descent that we tell our own stories in our own words. I've always been very inquisitive. I have a kind heart. I'm rebellious, moody, compassionate. I'm a loving person, until you piss me off. I got a crazy sense of humor. I really care about people. But, I live with mental illness. So living with mental illness is a daily challenge. I live with anxiety and depression. And some days I don't have the energy or the motivation or the will to do anything constructive. So there's a fine line between peace and isolation. And I'm not always sure what part of the line I'm on. So God has given me a village of men and women who I can talk to, who listen to me, who care about my spiritual condition. So I don't feel alone. I'm not alone. And I know a lot of black men do feel that way, and they don't trust anybody, and they don't feel safe, which is what it was like for me growing up. I never felt safe. I felt misunderstood. I felt unappreciated. So I'm a lot better off today than I was before.
All right. That is progress. In my place, east and south of Nigeria, they will usually say, so it means if you are not the discipline that you used to be, you are progressing. And that is a good thing. We need to move forward.
Yeah.
All right. So what is the key message that you are driving in what you do? And of course, we are going to be looking into your book just now.
Well, I think it's important, like you said, that we talk about the things that are inside of us. Therapy was very helpful in my experience, but it's not a one-size-fits-all. Therapy is not aspirin. And I think it's important that we don't blame and shame black men who choose not to engage in therapy. It's not for everybody. So, but there are other forms of therapy. There's art therapy, there's dance therapy, there's hip hop therapy, there's yoga therapy. There are many ways in which a black man can engage in something to find healing and joy and fulfillment and peace. Reading a book, listening to music, going for a walk, spending time with animals, exercise, having a healthy meal, prayer, meditation, going to a sporting event, watching a documentary, comedy, laughter is so important. Laughter is free medicine, and it's really important that we find something to laugh about, even if it's ourselves, because laughter is a way to heal the soul and get in touch with humanity, because there's always something that we can laugh about if we don't take ourselves so morbidly serious all the time, and that helps to relieve the stress, the conflict, the tension, the frustration, if we just have a laugh. Sometimes if I'm feeling depressed, I'll put on a movie or concert with Richard Pryor or Patrice O'Neill or Robin Harris, and I'll laugh, and it changes my whole mood. It changes my whole mood, because depression is a mood disorder, and a mental illness. But our moods, we need to change our moods. So I want black men to know that they're not alone, that people care, and that we are here for them. There are brothers all around the world who think like you, feel like you, have been through similar life experiences, and that we can connect. we can get our spiritual needs met, a sense of belonging, a sense of community, a sense of equality, because we all have a need to feel safe and we all have a need to feel appreciated. And that's important, that we get our needs met.
All right. Thank you so much for what you're saying there. I think it resonates heavily in what we are doing. As you were talking, I was just reflecting about the project that we are working on. Trying to see if I can pull it out for you, so I can show you. Give me a few seconds. Okay, it doesn't seem to be pulling, so I will just leave it there now. Okay, so it is important that somebody understand the fact that there are many people out there like you. You are not alone. You don't need to feel alone, because loneliness is not good. But sometimes it's also a state of mind that we come to the conclusion that we are alone, but we are not alone. There are a lot of people around us that look like us. Maybe they might not necessarily be just in your next vicinity, but that should not even be a problem anymore, because now, with the help of internet, we can connect to real human beings who can listen to us, who we can talk to, who you can share your story to. You see, it gone are the days where you feel that because you cannot talk to the next person, you have nobody to talk to. It's not like that anymore. You can pick up your phone and literally call somebody across the country, and the person will listen to you. Because if what you need is to converse with somebody, there are a lot of people that can talk to you, that you can also talk to, so that can end up changing the mood, like you said. So I think people need to realize that it is not just the end of it all because you don't see people like jumping around you. I'm not saying that is not important. That is important. But now we need to understand that times have changed. There are different circumstances. There are different situations. So we need to make do with the tools of the age to live better. Everything around us are tools that we need to use, so that they need to serve us. If all these tools are serving us, then the day you have, which is 24 hours, is going to be very small for you every day. Because if you are busy doing something, and most importantly, doing something that you like, it will be difficult for you to be depressed at the same time. Okay, I don't know if I'm correct on that, because I'm not really a psychologist. I'm not a medical certified person, but I can say that it is important that we find something that makes us happy, so that we can concentrate our energy on that. That is all I can say about that. Of course, for something more than that, we need to see the expert. I'm not an expert in that area. So thank you so much for what you are doing anyway. That is what I wanted to put out there. Now, let's talk about your book. How did you get to that book? What is it about?
Well, my spirit tells me different things at different times, and God put something on my spirit to express myself in terms of my own mental health journey, and I just felt like I needed to write, because writing is a creative tool. Writing is a way for me to express myself and get in touch with my creative spirit. So I wasn't sure if I was going to write an essay or a haiku or a poem, but I knew I wanted to write something about mental health. And then I called a friend of mine who's also an artist, and we both suggested that maybe we can do a book. Maybe you can write a book about mental health, which I've never done before. I'm 64 years old, first time independent self-published author. Yeah, I'm 64. I got a baby face. So, I decided in the spirit community to reach out to other brothers. Thank God for social media, like you mentioned, technology. I love what you said about having something to do, and that can take away your depression. Now if you have a diagnosis, you have a diagnosis, but you're so right. When you're engaged in meaningful, purposeful, valuable activity, the depression is not really present. So I can't smile and be sad at the same time, so it's really important to do something. So anyway, I reached out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I refuse to call it X. And I asked I introduced myself. My name is Mark Tuggle. I'm editing a book on Black men and mental health. Would you like to contribute? And I got a lot of rejection. The first year, I only had one person who wrote, and that was a good friend of mine. But I kept at it, perseverance, steadfastness, resiliency. Those are some of the principles that I have embodied. And I didn't give up, and eventually I had 10 people, 15, 20. So eventually I ended up with 30 brothers from around the world. But let me tell you, bro, after 2 years of writing this book, my computer crashed.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, my computer crashed, man. Do you know I lost everything? Like I lost it was all gone poof, and I was in a depression for at least 3 months. I was so despondent. I couldn't get out of bed. I was questioning God, like I had all of this passion and then it was all gone because of technology, like you said. And, but I kept praying and I talked to a couple people and, I got back on the computer and here we are, it's just something about the spirit. The spirit never lies, the spirit never dies. And so I've got this book and it's on Amazon. It's paperback, also Kindle. It's published 2 years ago. And I'm not rich and famous. I haven't heard from Oprah yet. Maybe she'll call me one day.
but of course, you are happy. You are happy with what you have done, right?
Yeah, I am. And I'll just tell you, very quickly, I have a neighbor in my building. And he's 12 years old. He's Latino. And he was diagnosed with ADHD. And one day I'm walking down the street. He said, "Mark, I got your book and I love it." And like, that's my reward, because Muhammad Ali says the service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. And so I had no idea that this little 12-year-old boy is reading my book. I had no idea, and it's helping him. And that's all I want to do. I want to be of service. That's it. I didn't do this for money or fame or recognition. I did this because this is what God called me to do. And when God calls you, you answer the phone.
That's lovely. That's lovely. You see, today I actually interview, I take out to like 3 people who are volunteering for a non-profit project. It's an international organization that we're building to serve the people of African descent. We're looking into things like storytelling, looking at diaspora exchange, cultural exchange on tourism, where we are valuing our historical presence in the world, in different parts of the world. Because if there are Africans in your city, they need to find out, are there evidence of Africans that have been here for some time? Can we gather those experiences and help the world know that we have been here? Because we are not new here. We have been around. So it is on us to do this story. At the moment, we are gathering people together, explore this experience, and we are really serious about it. We are launching it in September of this year. We're already getting good feedback because the project is written. People can listen to it, can see it on our website, which is with Diaspora. We are saying that we are the diaspora. We are important. We are over 200 million people. Our voice is important. We need to own that voice. We need to reshape the narrative. We're not going to be saying, "Oh, please invite us also to the table." No, we create the table. We shape the narrative that we want to be about us. Like you said, maybe Oprah is not going to call us, but that is not the point. The point is we need to choose how we want to be called. So it is important that we remember that, you see, before we started to talk just now, I told you that here we are really concentrating on the impact. Or what do we want, what we are doing to mean to people that are listening to us? So we are saying to the people, let's do something reasonable with our time, because this is the only time we have now. We cannot give it away and maybe start blaming other people. Let's decide to take a decisive action to change our situation. We can do something about it because we're alive. We can work with people. We can pick up a telephone and call. Whether it's doing something, if you cannot start something of your own, join some other person. Join hands together. Let's work out something. All right. Now, you've talked about your book. Have somebody else read this book apart from that neighbor of yours? I'm trying to understand, what are they telling you, the impact that book is having on the people? Tell me something.
Well, that's a really good question because I value diversity in terms of the human spectrum. So when I'm out and about selling my book in Harlem, where I live, Harlem is now very multicultural. And so I've had, white female psychologists who said this book will be great for my clients. I've had Black female mothers who say this will be great for my son. I've had older Black men say, well, we need to talk about mental health. I've had younger Black men say, this is interesting, let me take a look at it. So I've had different people from different walks of life, say, Mark, this is what we need, this is what we need, this is what we need. We need to talk about what we're going through because everybody has pain. Pain is a memory. My great-grandmother was 97 years old. She said, no one leaves this world unscathed. And so on the other end of pain is joy. And every child is born with joy. There's never been an unhappy born child. So we need to get back to that joy. I was born happy, joyous, and free. And then I experienced a great deal of trauma, abuse. And it just changed the trajectory of my life. But, God knocked on my heart and he said, Mark, I have something for you to do. And you're the only person who can do it. And so I answered his call. Like I said, when God calls you, answer the phone. You don't put God on hold. You answer the phone. It doesn't matter what time of day because he gives you the time of day. So that's how I share my gratitude. And, the people who I have met, who have read the book, who have bought the book, they really like it. They enjoy the stories. They benefit from the resources. They share with other people. And I've had people buy the book who don't look like me, people from all walks of life, regardless of age, gender, culture, religion, orientation, because everyone has a relationship with mental health. Because mental health has to do with the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way we handle stress and conflict. Everyone has a relationship with mental health. But, 25 years ago, mental health and Black men were not in the same sentence. Now it is. And so there's a lot that we need to address so we can resolve it because every human being has conflicts. No matter how at peace you are with yourself, every human being has conflict. And this is just one way to resolve conflicts. You can talk about it, write about it, sing about it, dance about it, rap about it, paint about it, exercise about it, but just, do something. Even if you pray, prayer is activity. Meditation is activity. If there's something that you can do it, and that will help to shift the conflict, the depression, the sadness, the anxiety, the frustration, the loneliness, the unhappiness. Everyone can do something.
Thank you so much for that. Now, you said that something happened to you that changed the trajectory of your life. And this is storytelling time. Without letting the people know what have happened to you, we'll be doing them a good service. So what happened to you? Because we are product of what happened to us. We are literally products of what happened to us.
Well, I have been physically and sexually and verbally abused more than once as a child. And I didn't have a voice. And I felt like I had a choice. And I blamed myself. And I kept secrets. I kept secrets from my family. And family and secrets are a dangerous combination because when you tell a secret, it can break your family. But when you keep a secret, it can break your spirit. And so I have been harmed more than once, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And it caused me a great deal of woundedness, and a great deal of grief and loss. And it really disturbed me. I didn't understand why people had treated me so cruelly. And, I'm not a prince. I've also been harmful as well. So, it takes two. But I went through a lot as a kid, and I didn't tell anybody about it. And I've written about it publicly, and I've talked about it publicly, so I'm not afraid to talk about who I am and what I've been through. Deepak Chopra says that until you let go of your past, you cannot tell yourself a new story. But for a long time, I just had all this buried trauma inside of me. Maya Angelou says that there's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. James Baldwin says that not everything can be faced, can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. So I've had to do what Michael Jackson says, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror and free myself, forgive other people, and forgive myself. And so now I'm on this journey of self-love.
Thank you so much for that sharing. I think it's Les Brown that was saying that no matter what happened to you or what have happened to you, you need to learn to forgive yourself because you are still in the process of making. You are in the journey. You are not yet terminated it. You are still here. You don't need to conclude it. You don't need to conclude it. You need to learn to pardon yourself and say, okay, well, this is what have happened. I can't go back now to the past. I am here. You are better than the situation that have happened to you, the circumstances. So you still pick it up. You are still growing up. You are still in the process of transformation. We are actually transforming, all of us. And that is both literally true and also psychologically true. So because you are not yet fully transformed, there is still room for error. If you make error, it means it's part of the growing up. You look for it, look for what have happened, assess the situation, then you move forward. Only that we are intentionally moving forward to the right path. Not that we are intentionally moving forward to become a bad person or on the wrong side of life. No. But in the process of becoming a better person, sometimes we do wrong or sometimes wrong thing happens to us. It's part of the process. So I think it is very important what you say, that we must learn to forgive ourselves and move on. And of course, even those that have harmed us too, sometimes we need to have it at the depth of our heart to also forgiveness and move on. Because otherwise, we'll be carrying the load now and we'll be multiplying the load, and that is going to be crushing us all the time. And because we are talking about this, and you are very heavy on mental health, I think somebody might benefit from it if you could explain to them. What are we talking about? What is mental health? What is your explanation of it? What is your description of it?
So mental health is generally described as your emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Mental health is the thoughts that we have, the choices that we make. Mental health are the feelings that we experience, our beliefs that we embody. Mental health encompasses the way we handle stress, the way we handle conflict. So mental health is a natural part of our human experience. And more and more people are open to the idea that mental health is something that they can actually handle and learn how to cope with in a way that serves them. And it does take courage. Maya Angelou says that courage is the most important of our virtues, because without courage, you can't practice the other virtues consistently. So it takes courage to tell the truth. It takes integrity to live the truth. And having a relationship with mental health does not mean that there's something wrong with humanity. You're just acknowledging what is inside, and we all have something inside of us. And some of us are wounded, some of us are broken, some of us are hurting, some of us are living with unimaginable pain. And we believe that we're alone. And we believe that no one cares. We believe that it will not get any better, so we don't talk about it. And you can't take a look at what you don't talk about. You can't change what you don't admit. So it's important to have people in your life who support you, who understand you, who love you, who can nurture you. And mental health is one way to make that possible.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And for these people that are dealing with this mental health, these challenges, I want to believe that you are also in contact with them. You are related with them. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, and I do have a website, www.culturalsilencewoundedsouls.com. Culturalsilencewoundedsouls.com. There's information, there's resources, there's videos, there's a conversation, there's a documentary on Black men depression, there's an interview, there's music, there's poetry. And there's a lot of resources that people can use. So I really would encourage people to check out my website, www.cultural, silence, silence, wounded, wounded, souls, souls.com. And there's so much information and resources and videos that can benefit yourself and someone that you care about.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Cultural silence. But where is that idea really coming from? Why did you coin it like that? What does it mean?
Well, Dr. John Henrik Clarke says that people of African descent have been on these shores since 1442. And so we've been here for a long time, like you said. You know, we've been here for a long time. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. You can't discover something that's already there. That's like me saying I discovered a tree. You know, so that lie has been still being told. But Black people know better. You know, we know better. So on the plantation, you know, we were being murdered, brutalized, lynched, sodomized, castrated, etc. And, you know, our families were split up, our religion was taken away, our customs, our traditions, horror on the plantation, you know, people of African descent. And so we didn't have a gender. Historically, the word gender was associated with family and race, not biology and sex. And so our voice, you know, it was illegal to read and write. You know, we were code switching back then. We had the drum. We had to find unique ways, cultural ways to communicate. And so we have been silent culturally for a long time. And even when, you know, we had the so-called Emancipation Proclamation, which is BS in my opinion, we still had to learn how to communicate. And because we knew if we did, there would be pain, there would be harm, there would be death, there would be murder. So we had to be silent for a long time in this country. Culturally, we had to be silent. When we spoke out, when we see what happened to Malcolm X and Dr. King and Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and so forth and so on, we see what happens when we speak. When we speak our truth, somebody, some force has determined that we should not be speaking. That's our cultural silence. That's our history, you know. But today, like you said, we can use technology. You can go online and you can hit send and the whole world can hear your voice, you know. So that's why I call it cultural silence.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm also happy that we are both agreed on that today we have a new tool that we can use. Even that tool, I understand, is also limited because it's also controlled by the same agenda that have put us in this condition that we are today. But at least if this is a tool that responds to number, if we can play the game, know how to rearrange the number, sometimes it can also be to our favor. So we need to learn how to play this game, learn how to play in this international game of being present, of holding our voice and using it for our own good. So looking at where we are today in 2025, what do you say of the potential that we might have or the lack of it in changing that cultural silence? What do you say about that?
I think the fact that you and I are having this conversation today is a demonstration of how much we have progressed as a people, that we can be present and we can use technology as a tool to raise awareness, to spark dialogue, to you know, have a conversation that people around the world can have access to. And I know technology is not for everybody. Not everyone's tech savvy. Some people don't care about technology. Some people don't use email. Some people don't like to text. Some people don't care about social media. That's okay. That's okay. But there are people who do, and I feel a responsibility to be of service and have my voice heard, just like you're doing now. I mean, you're kind enough to allow me to be on your show, which I really appreciate. And so things are changing. More and more brothers are open to talking about how they need to heal. We need to heal. Healing is the natural tendency to restore balance when it's lost. We all need to heal because we all have some type of conflict. We all have some type of pain. We all have something inside of us that needs to be released and let go, so it doesn't burden us. We're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders sometimes, and sometimes just having somebody to talk to can just make all the difference in the world.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Of course, you already said where people can find your book. So what would be your final thoughts to conclude this conversation?
Well, I just like to encourage every Black boy and man who's listening to do something different. Whatever that difference is for you. If you're uncomfortable talking to people, then talk to somebody. Someone that you trust, someone that you feel safe with, someone you feel comfortable with. It could be a family member, a friend, a neighbor, someone at work, someone at school. It could be someone from your faith-based organization if you're part of that. It could be someone that you hang out with. But have a conversation. Just have a conversation. One conversation can change the way you see yourself. And find ways, like you said, that make you happy. What do you enjoy that puts a smile on your face? Do more of that. And do it consistently and make it a part of your everyday life. So you can feel better about yourself. Because what we want to feel good about ourselves. And when I feel good about myself, it has an impact on my family, my community, and my nation.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. And keep on doing the good work that you are doing. And yes, the right people will find you. Yeah, sometimes it appears like a magic, no? Because we are deliberately impregnating this world, making sure that what we believe is not going to die with us. That is what we are not going to allow to happen. We should own our voice. We should not keep it silent. Let's do it intentionally. Doesn't matter how many people are listening just now. People will listen. Yes, they will listen. So thank you so much for your work and keep on doing it. It's been a pleasure here, brother. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. It's been an honor and a privilege.